Hello and welcome to our first clinic of 2025, and this one is all about confidence. It's great to have you here. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Anissa Lewis and I'm a positive parenting coach. I have a background in teaching and education. I've been in the teaching sector for 25 plus years. Before I started my business about nearly 9 years ago. I retired from a deputy head job, head of operations of quite an exclusive private school down in Surrey, moved my family to West Yorkshire, set up my business, retrained to dive into something that I'm really passionate about, which is to help you raise happy and confident children, no matter what is going on for you and your young people. I'm a mother myself, so I have a 16-year-old, love her to bits. We have come through an autism diagnosis. We've survived toddler years. We have gone through tweens, and we're now navigating our way through the teenage years. And she's just done her GCSEs, so she's currently in year 12. So yes, I like to walk my talk. The things I talk about are definitely things that I have tried at home with my own child. But also with the clients and the young people that I work with one-on-one. So today we are here to discuss all things confidence. So what I want to do before we dive in, well, no, I guess I am diving in, let's face it. We're here, I'm diving in. So what I want us to look at is I want us to look at the difference between confidence and self-esteem, because quite often people will say, oh, I'm not very confident, or I'm lacking in confidence, or my child's lacking in confidence. And actually, it's self-esteem. So the confidence is what you are portraying to the world, and self-esteem is what's going on the inside. So have a think about yourself, have a think about your kids, have a think about people you know. You might say to me, oh gosh, Anissa, you're quite confident. And you're absolutely right. I can sit here and I can give a talk, and I can speak about things I'm passionate with, and I can go into rooms full of people that I don't know, and I can be perfectly happy. But actually my self-esteem on the inside is always having a little chat with me. Oh, are you good enough to be in here? Is this okay? Have you said the right thing? Have you worded it in quite the same way? Or it could be you might see in your children that they measure their success on outward things, like getting a certain score in an exam or a spelling test, or being the first to win a game. That usually indicates something is going on with the self-esteem. So have a think about yourself or your children, and let me know what you feel. Do you feel that it's confidence, what your child is portraying to the world, that is, I'm going to say the issue, but I don't mean it quite like that? Or is it self-esteem, something that's going on the inside? Let me know in the chat box. If you're listening to this on the replay, obviously you can't use the chat box, but you are absolutely welcome to send me an email at hello@anissalewis.com, and I'd love to hear from you, to hear your feedback, hear your takeaways from today. I don't read out the names of people in the chat boxes, or you can write your chat directly to me and I can then read it out anonymously on your behalf. So don't feel on the spot. And likewise, if you want to sit there and just take in all the information, that's absolutely fine as well. What I will also say is at the end of this little talk, which probably be in about, I don't know, 20 minutes time, I will be chatting about some things that I've got coming up, but I'd also like to know your takeaway from today. What's one thing that you're really going to focus on and try with your children? And I do use the word one thing quite purposefully, because if we try and work on lots of things all of the time, then we are less likely to achieve success. What we need to be doing is sort of a bit like laser vision, or those horses that have the blinkers on. We need to be thinking about one thing, not to leaving everything behind, but if we're focusing on one thing, we're more likely to make a change. Okay, so we've got half and half depending on the situation. Absolutely right. Probably the self-esteem side, especially with the interesting point that I made about winning games. Not sure, could be both. Mainly confidence. The child knows she's good at something but loses confidence around other people. Stage fright. Yeah, absolutely. The other thing I want to throw into the mix here is introvert, extrovert. So the world, school systems are all built for extrovert people, the people who like getting up and doing group work, the children who like putting their hand up to answer a question, the children who enjoy socializing and the bubbly noise of a school and a college or a university environment or a work environment. they're not really built for introverted people who actually are really quite comfortable in their own skin. They don't potentially, they might know the answer, but they don't feel the need to put their hand up because, first of all, that's drawing attention to themselves. And second of all, why would they want to? They know the answer. So have a think about, they also, introverts don't need other people to give them energy. So that's also something else to think about when we're thinking about self-esteem, confidence, introvert, extrovert. And have a think about yourself as well, because we really do influence our children, perhaps in subtle ways, perhaps in more, bash you around the head kind of a way, but we are absolutely consistently role modeling to our children, and they are always watching us, which is a little bit scary, especially when we're having our own triggered moments and all of that kind of stuff. So have a think about yourself. Introvert, extrovert, self-esteem, confidence, or maybe it's not an issue for you at all. The other thing I want to mention here is growth and fixed mindset when we're looking at our children who are lacking in confidence or self-esteem. I'm just going to use the word confidence. Take it, if it's your child has more self-esteem, take it that that's what it is. So have we heard of growth mindset? I think there's some emojis somewhere on this, on the bottom panel. You can, oh look, it's called react, I think. Oh no, maybe it's not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. Show me with an emoji whether you've heard of growth mindset, fixed mindset. So growth mindset was a phrase that is coined by a psychologist, I want to say, and I want to say she's American, but I could be doing her a disservice. Anyway, her nationality is really not important here in the big scheme of things. So it was coined by a lady called Carol Dweck, and there's lots of stuff out there. If this is something that piques your interest, then there is lots of stuff out there in the wonderful world of Google, whoever your search engine is, on growth and fixed mindset. So fixed mindset is very much what it says on the tin. It's sort of more what I would say is black and white thinking. It's, this is my lot, this is what I was born into, this is how it's going to be. There is no potential for growth, there's no potential for change, this is who I am. That's, in a nutshell, obviously there's a lot more to it, but in a nutshell, that's what a fixed mindset is. Whereas a growth mindset is very much about, you believe you've got a basic ability, but you believe you can grow, you believe that you can learn, you can believe that you can change. And it's sort of what I describe as, if fixed mindset is black and white thinking, then growth mindset is very much a multicolored thinking, or the gray area in between the black and white. It's really thinking that actually, you know what, just because you've been dealt the hand you've been dealt, or just because this is what you've got, doesn't mean you cannot rise above that and create great things or learn wonderful things or just be the best version of yourself that you can be. So have a think about that as well when you're thinking about your children. So I think the good thing about confidence is it absolutely is something that we can teach our children. It is not an overnight wave a magic wand, everything is fixed kind of affair. It's very much a slow drip. But I would also say there are children and adults who drop in confidence as a matter of a circumstance. So it could be that your family has gone through a divorce or a separation. That can knock someone's confidence. It could be that they're starting at a new school. It could be that they've had been poorly and they're going back to school, and that can knock their confidence. So there are things where confidence is just a bit of a blip on the landscape and they will get it back. And then there are other children and adults who actually, that's just part of who they are. It takes a while for them to warm up, or it takes them a while to become comfortable in a new setting, or to speak out, or whatever that is. Whatever it is for you and your young people, that's okay. But it's about being curious about the reason and the cause of perhaps this lack of confidence or this blip in confidence. What I will say is that every family is different. Every child is an individual. Every parent is an individual. And there is no one size fits all model to fixing your confidence. It's a lot of trial and error. And when we go through a change in our family, if you imagine like an upside down bell curve, you come in on one side of the skateboard ramp on your little skateboard and you're thinking, oh, I've just listened to a talk by Anissa and it was really inspiring. Well, that's what I'm hoping you're going to say. And I'm going to gather all of these information. I'm going to go and try it. You then get to the bottom of having gained some momentum, the bottom of the skateboard ramp, which is fondly referred to as the valley of despair. Now, I call it the pit of despair because a valley is very big and we don't want to be in the valley for very long. But once you're in the pit of despair, you're trying out new things, you're tweaking things, something's not working, you're readjusting. What happens 8 or 9 times out of 10 is people find the pit of despair too despair-like, too hard, and they reverse out the way they've come. Rather than being curious and open-minded and more of that growth mindset, to tweak, to change, to have a conversation with your child, to be able to come out the other side informed with a change cycle taken in place. So have a think about that. It's okay to be uncomfortable. It's okay for your children to be uncomfortable. I'm not asking it to go on months, but actually it's okay to sit there for a couple of weeks, tweaking things and making changes to help the greater good. But what happens, as I said, 9 times out of 10 is people will be in there a couple of hours, 24 hours at the absolute most, and then they reverse out the way they come because it's all got too difficult. So there are some small wins here that we can make to help with our growth mindset, to help with our introverts, extroverts, to help with our self-esteem, to help with our confidence. And that is to celebrate mistakes. It's okay for our kids to make mistakes, and it's especially okay for them to make it at home, because that is a safe environment. That is a place where they can grow and develop, and they will be pushing boundaries. So how can you celebrate mistakes? I'm not asking you to have a party every time they drop something on the floor and a glass smashes, but actually, is that a teachable moment? Is that, oh gosh, you know what, that was a bit of an accident? Or does that trigger something within you that makes it into a shouting match or a blaming game or a lecture? Be aware, be curious, but actually celebrating a mistake and going, you know what, we all make mistakes. It's learning from that. That's where the growth comes. The other one is the power of yet. Well, you don't know that yet because you haven't finished that unit at school learning about it. You don't know that yet because you're 3 and you haven't, you've got to work on your gross motor skills to be able to run really fast. The power of yet is wonderful because it just tells your brain that there is a glimmer of hope. So I love the word yet. So get that one into your vocabulary. I think I love the brain and I love talking about the brain, but our brain believes what you tell it. So if your child is telling their brain that they're not very good at maths, or they're a bit shy when they go into a party, or they're not feeling very confident because X, Y, and Z, then the brain goes, oh, I'm going to really help them with that belief. I'm going to help them to believe that they're not very good at maths. And then what it does, because it's being super helpful, is it throws all of this lovely evidence in front of you to prove that point. So likewise, if you're having a blip in your confidence as a parent, your brain will go, oh, they're feeling a bit blippy about their confidence as being a parent. I'll prove that they really are not very confident at being a parent. And again, throws you lots of lovely evidence, and your brain is going, look, I'm being so helpful. And your self-esteem is being crushed on the inside as a result of all these helpful tools that your brain is giving you. So the power of affirmation, the power of yet, the power of actually just saying to your brain, I'm not very good at maths yet, but I'm going to get better because I'm going to put in the effort, or I'm going to give some time to reflect, and my confidence in my parenting will return. But you've got to tell your brain what it wants to look for the evidence for. So please, 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 if you do nothing else coming out of this, is just think about what messages you are giving your brain, and then what proof your brain is giving back to you as a result of thinking it's being super, super helpful. Is any of this resonating with you? Are you having a think and thinking, oh yeah, I can relate to this? Again, give me an emoji or give me something in the chat box. Oh, excellent, we've got a thumbs up. I'll take that, and another one. Awesome. Okay, so the other thing I hinted on earlier is about modeling confidence. Quite a lot of confidence comes from you. Now, sometimes it can be because you are uber confident and your child just thinks, I can't live up to that standard. That's just not who I am. And other parts of it is because you're not feeling particularly confident, or your self-esteem is taking a bit of a wobble because of something that's happening at work, or it could be you're going through perimenopause, or it could be you're just, a death in the family. So what can we role model to our children? Now, I also am a firm believer in we don't need to air all of our dirty laundry to our children, but our children need to know that we too are struggling, and that we too are trying to learn something, or we're celebrating making a mistake because it means that we can learn from it. And so I'm going to ask you some questions here which could relate to what you could ask your children, but also could just be conversation starters for you and your partner, or some journaling if that's what you are into. So my questions are: how are you speaking to yourself in your head, and then what is coming out of your mouth? Do you criticize yourself or put others down? That's quite a big one for self-esteem and confidence, because actually it's a bit like trying to win, always winning games. They're trying to make themselves feel better by making other people feel less than them. So it's an interesting one. Is your happiness dependent on others or circumstances? So again, that's linking back to what I was saying about linking their success to scoring a goal in a game in PE, or a football match on the weekend, or getting a certain score in a spelling test or a maths test or an exam. How do you make your own happiness and opportunities? Are you reliant on others for your own happiness and opportunities, or are you more like my father quite often describes me in a very fond way as a self-contained unit? He goes, Anissa, you don't really need anyone else. I'm like, I do need other people, I promise you, but actually I am quite self-contained. How do you react when things haven't gone as planned? Now, this is an interesting one, especially if we think about driving in the car and someone sitting on our tail. I absolutely hate that, and it brings out the worst in my personality. And I think I'm not really a swearer, but I think it's the first time my child ever heard me swear was when people were trying to get into my boot as I was driving along in the car, or someone cuts you up in whatever. What comes out of your mouth, or how do you react when things haven't quite gone as planned? And this is a nice one to end that sort of reflection on, is what can you do to challenge yourself to be more confident in? Do you want to be more confident at meeting new friends? Do you want to be more confident at something you're doing in your work setup? Do you want to learn a new skill? What can you challenge yourself to become more confident in? Because confidence is a muscle that needs to be worked. Little steps, couple of steps forward, couple of steps back, 3 steps forward, 1 step back. How can you just push yourself? Because if we spend our whole time in our comfort zone, which is very nice and cozy, and especially in this weather, if you're, yeah, we've all got cold weather, comfort zone is a really nice place to be. But actually what I'm encouraging you to do is to just push out into the growth zone, where actually you don't know that you're not good at something unless you just really, really try. And this also holds well for our children. What we don't want to do is to go from our growth, from our comfort zone, springing out to the danger zone, because that's when the warnings go off, and that's when you get panic attacks, and that's when anxiety starts bringing in, and that's when the emotions spring over because you've gone too far. Which is why I really encourage imagining your comfort zone, or your comfort zone of your child, is more like a balloon that we're just trying to stretch, but it will always spring back if we need it to. And so, but we don't want to stretch it to the point of it popping. So have a think about that in terms of your child's confidence and self-esteem, like the balloon that's just being able to go big and small without popping. So I think something that's quite nice here as a win for parents, but also for children, is we can show our confidence through our body language. So sometimes you'll see it, you'll scan a room, or you'll be in the supermarket, or you're walking to school, and there are people who walk with like their heads down, or their shoulders hunched. And actually a really lovely thing to do with your children is to imagine. So I look at the self-esteem as a little version of you sitting in your belly. And what I want that little version of you sitting in your belly to be is more like a superhero than a curled up, what's an animal, like a woodlouse, or no, what's that? No, sorry, perimenopausal brain has come in. I can't think of it. An aardvark? No, that doesn't sound quite right. Anyway, hedgehog, that's probably a much better example. I'll go with a hedgehog. But we don't want to be a curled up hedgehog in your belly. We want to be the superhero. And part of that comes through your body language and your stance. By just sitting here and putting my shoulders back, putting my chest a bit forward, lifting up my head, although if I lift my head too much, you can see my ring lights. You feel different. Not crossing your arms across your body in a defensive mode, but perhaps having them on your hips like a superhero. And so what I get the children that I work with to do is to sort of imagine a version of themselves in their belly standing in a superhero pose. So they're standing there, legs hip width apart, hands on their shoulders, and really puffing out their chest and feeling good about themselves. You could take it a step further. Now, my daughter's 16 now, but probably when she was 7 or 8, we went through a really wobbly patch at school. And every day before we left the house, now she's quite shy, we would do superheroes at home. So we would stand by the front door where nobody could see us, and we were a superhero. So we puffed our chest out, we stood in that really strong pose. And then on good days, I'd make her sort of like fly out of the house like a superhero. She didn't really like that, but I thought it was great fun. So parent humor bringing into that. I hinted about affirmations, just telling your brain what you want it to do. So I am confident, I am happy, I am courageous, I am brave. That actually, again, is all giving your brain the right message of what you want or what you want for your children. I just want to give a armadillo. That's what it is. Thank you very much for being my brain. I really appreciate that. So I want to just do a word of caution on labeling your children. Now, we do label our children with all of the best intentions. Absolutely. You know, your child is perhaps got some social anxiety and not very confident in social situations, and we'll say in front of them, they're just shy. Again, what message are we giving your child's brain? Your child's brain going, I'm shy, I'm shy, I'm going to find more evidence of why I'm shy. Whereas if we reframe that thought slightly with a word like yet, you know, they'll get there, they're just not there yet. Or it could be, you know, give them 5 minutes and they'll be in with everybody else. They just need a time to warm up. That's a very different message you're giving your child's brain. Your child's brain is going, oh, I'm going to be all right in 5 minutes. Oh, I just need some time to warm up. Oh, that's awesome. And then they just take it. They take a little moment, and hopefully, fingers crossed, if we're helping them to stretch their comfort zone a little bit, they'll take a step in the right direction. And then we can use praise. Well done. Gosh, you're looking around. That's awesome. You are certainly showing some bravery and courage in this situation. So those things are really, really important. If your child is an extrovert, or if your child is happy to do some role play, sometimes that is a really good thing to do at home in the privacy of your home, where you can look at a situation where your child does struggle in, whether it's social, whether it's in a classroom, being able to put up their hand, whether it's answering questions, whether it's walking confident into the lunchroom when there's lots of noise and lots of people going around. But you can do a little bit of role play and bring humor into it, because I think quite often we can be quite serious about lack of confidence and lack of self-esteem. So role play can bring in some humor into the situation and some fun into the situation. So, and the other thing I really like is I like talk jars. So you can put some prompts in here that will just get your child talking. So, but you can put prompts in which are to do with a situation that perhaps they struggle in, or perhaps they need a little bit more confidence in. And you can write it through a third person, or a book character that they like, or a character on the TV that they relate to, or a sports star. So this one I've just pulled out now. What are three of your strengths? What about other family members, your teacher, or someone you admire? So sometimes, again, getting them to talk about it through someone else is quite important. The other thing I have in my talk jar is things as facts. A gorilla can live for 40 to 50 years. Well, I didn't know that. And so then you start talking about it and you just start discussing it. And this is something that could just live on your kitchen table, so you can sit there over a meal and have a discussion. But I really like talk jars for many, many situations. Oh gosh, we are running towards the finish line, aren't we? I do like to talk about subjects that I'm very, very passionate about. So I think I'm going to end on praising effort and achievement. And I hinted at it just then, but it's not about going, well done, good job, when your child is stretching their comfort zone, when they're trying to do something a bit different, when they are pushing themselves into the rubbery bit of their comfort zone, into that stretch zone. I really like praising process, progress, effort. And so, yes, absolutely, you can praise them for getting top marks in a test, of course. But actually, what led them to getting top marks in that test? Well, it was perseverance, it was practice, it was courage to show up, it was brain power to bring that information back to the foreground. So actually praising values and virtues are really, really important, because the more we can do that, the more your child is going, oh, I was courageous, oh, I was brave. Oh, and again, this is all internal dialogue. This is, perhaps they want to talk about it, perhaps they don't, depending on your child. But actually, the more we can acknowledge these emotions and these value words, which are quite abstract concepts to children, the more they're going to understand them. And the more, again, your child's brain is going to hook onto that and go, oh, let's find more reasons why I'm brave. Let's find more reasons why I'm courageous. Let's find more reasons where I'm being confident. And it shoves the evidence up so that your child is getting proof of what's going on. Now, I know confidence runs deep, or lack of confidence runs deep. I know it's not an easy fix. I know that some children really, and adults, really, really, it affects the way that they are interacting and embracing life. And if that is the case for you and your children, just know that by just doing a little bit of stretching every day, it will make a huge difference, because what we're looking for is that 1% marginal gain. I'm not looking to get you from a 3 out of 10 with your confidence to a 10 out of 10 overnight. That's going to be too scary. But what I'd really like to get you is from a 3 to a 4, and then a 4 to a 5. And it might be that one day you're feeling like a 5 to an 8, and that's a really big jump, and that's amazing. But actually, it's that 1% marginal gain of doing 5 minutes each day, something a little bit different, which makes a huge difference. So I think I'm going to stop there, although I could speak for hours. Yeah, please shoot off. I know I'm exactly on, well, in fact, no, I'm 1 minute over now. So please, off you go. Thank you so much for joining me. Before anyone else logs off, just let me know what your one thing is. What's your takeaway from today? What's something that's really resonated for you? As I said to you, I am introducing some new subjects for my clinics. So next month is all about screens and us exploring screens, and then in a couple of months' time it's going to be about friends. So please do join me in February for that. I've got lots of stuff going on at the moment. I'm about to launch a group program for something called the Golding Sleep Talk Method, which is all about boosting confidence, helping with anxiety, helping neurodiverse children. I've just done some training in some Johansson sound therapy, which is really, really exciting. So I can't wait to come on next month and tell you about all of these things, or perhaps you're already on my email list and you'll be hearing about them first there. So let's have a look at your takeaways. Okay, so yet, the power of yet seems to be really resonating. Okay, the pit of despair and the valley of despair, excellent, yep. Power of yet, wonderful. The growth mindset, praising values, constant role model, monitor yourself, love all of this. This is amazing. So thank you so much for your time. If you're listening to this on the replay, please do send me your one thing. I'd love to hear from you. You can go to my website, anisalewis.com, or you can email me at hello@anisalewis.com and let me know. But thank you today for being with me, and I look forward to our paths crossing again in the not too distant future.